And welcome back to Mixed Media Live. This is episode number 18, almost at the big 20. And it's been an interesting journey. We've changed a lot. We've morphed a lot from week to week. But hopefully always bringing you something entertaining, something to think about in the art spaces in general. What we do is we, every other week, have our little almost like lecture style content. That's not the right way to put it, but more like discussions about our particular fields. And then the other weeks we do an Arguing with Reddit segment, which seems to be pretty popular amongst you guys. So always let us know what we can do to improve, what we can do to change that you guys would like to see, if you guys have topic recommendations or whatever. But most importantly, we are a live show. So if you want to chat right now, we will interact with you. You'll be part of the final podcast. It's a good time. It's a fun time. And we'd love to see you around. So, with that, how was your week, Ben?
Good. It's been kind of busy with, I'm preparing to play some music with a bunch of, professional string quartet for my great aunt's memorial this weekend, and also getting prepared to move out to LA next month.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and for me, it's been a pretty slow week, so I don't think I have terribly much to report. Yeah, I'm a boring one this week. Been filming some like promotional content for myself, but nothing terribly exciting, to be honest. Actually, we didn't introduce ourselves. So my name is Irving. I'm a media entrepreneur and a filmmaker. I own a company called Ariella. Does a whole bunch of media film stuff in general. And who are you, Ben?
I'm Ben Costello. I'm a media composer and also a flute player, kind of focusing on media, flute music, I'd say.
Cool. And usually we have a third person here, a third crew member, Nathan. He's currently out. We'll see if he jumps in on the stream later. And he's a game developer. So we like to come at, the art space from our very different perspectives, come in and collide and talk about very interesting topics. So yeah, I think I'll start this week just because it'll be like a more general overview. I suspect I usually go on long. This time I think I'm going to go on a little short because it's not the most in-depth topic. But yeah, as everyone knows, Black Widow. Black Widow is a Marvel film. I don't think I need to give it much of an introduction. You've probably seen an ad somewhere, whether it's YouTube or on a billboard or, I don't know, wherever you go. Marvel definitely put money into to marketing this film. And the backdrop behind it, which I also think most people know, is that this film was much asked for in terms of the Marvel fans. They've been asking for a Black Widow film since Black Widow was a character in the MCU. And they are just now getting the Black Widow movie after, big spoiler alert right now. Don't, click away right now if you don't want to know a detail that you probably should know by now if you exist. But Black Widow is dead in the MCU, and so this film is sort of like a post-mortem sort of thing. It's kind of bizarre, actually, in terms of the way that whole thing played out. And there are a lot of feelings in the community about that, and a lot of people are upset with Marvel for waiting until after she died to make her movie. Now, I'm going to come at it. I'm a filmmaker, but I'm also sort of a business person. I love talking about the business of filmmaking in general because I think it's fascinating, especially when you talk about these big mega giants, these big multi-billion dollar, almost trillion dollar, companies, who are slugging it out. Not really, I guess. That's not even the right term because they don't really do much. They put out some interesting stuff, and their motivations for doing so are always interesting, to say the very least. So, I think I posted this in our Discord how much Black Widow made opening week, but do you remember what it was, Ben?
I wanted to say like 60 million or 80 million.
It was 80 million, and then it's since then accrued 200 million, and then it accrued like 60 million on $60 million on Disney Plus, that early access feature that Disney Plus has. I don't have Disney Plus, but I think you do, right? So how does that work? Like, I actually don't know.
So if you want to watch it, you have to click on like Premier Access, and you have to pay separately for it.
Okay, interesting.
Or you just wait till it comes out without Premier Access and watch it for free, other than what you're already paying for Disney Plus.
Right. So how much is it like a movie ticket, or I assume it's a lot less?
You know what? I'll pull it up right now, see how much it asked me to pay.
It's a very interesting system. I will say that. They're kind of trying to have the best of both worlds with having
Black Widow.
Let's see.
$29.99.
What? Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. Premier Access, $29.99 on top of your Disney Plus subscription.
So they're going to charge more than a movie theater for streaming access? Okay, well, I actually was not expecting that. I was expecting you to say something like $10 or something like that.
Nope.
But interesting. That kind of colors things in an interesting way. I guess that really does change a lot of things, because I was thinking about it in terms of like, okay, what's the relative value of both? So it's kind of bizarre that the value to some people of seeing it early in their home is higher than seeing it in a theater, which there might be some COVID pressure on top of that, but how much is that? I'm not certain. It's very hard to tell. Interesting. But anyway, all said and done, that is $240 million, if I did the math correct. I haven't looked at the most recent numbers, but I highly doubt that the trend has changed very much.
340?
$340 million. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. $340 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but you have to remember that Marvel movies are very, very expensive, and for a lot of different reasons. The first reason this should be fairly obvious, even if you don't know anything about movies. What happens when you have a cast that's locked into a universe? They have unlimited leverage against the franchise. They can ask for ever exorbitant paychecks, and normally with movies, the actor salaries aren't nearly the ratio that they are for MCU movies, and it's because these characters are locked in with that particular actor. It's basically impossible to replace them. You'd have to write them out of the universe. It's a headache and a bigger expense to fix that than it is to just pay the actor more. I actually hadn't looked up Scarlett Johansson's paycheck for this movie, but I'm sure it was quite large. So there's that, but there's also a lot of bloat in Marvel movies, like ridiculous amounts of bloat. Like, these crews are gigantic. Just beyond what I think is necessary even to produce something of the scale that Marvel movies create, but that is their prerogative. If they want to spend that much money on the MCU, so be it. I'm not going to complain about Disney shelling out more money than they need to.
Of course you're not.
Yeah. So how much money did they spend on the budget of Black Widow? It's about $200 million. It's a lot of money. I would say these days you can make a blockbuster movie, generic blockbuster movie, something that's more like if Jaws were to come out this summer, it would probably cost you something like $100 million. That's more of the ballpark what I would expect of like a big budget, maybe 100, 130, something like that is a pretty reasonable price tag of a generic blockbuster movie. So the MCU is quite expensive. So that puts it in context. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, they made their money back already, and they have streaming ahead of them, and they have a whole bunch of other things. Not so fast, because that budget, $200 million, for a lot of people who don't know this, does not account for marketing. And marketing is extremely expensive. And marketing is a lot more items than people suspect. It's not just the billboards. It's not just the online ads, because the online ads are probably actually the cheapest part and the easiest part to do. It's also paying Scarlett Johansson to go on XYZ media runs and media tours. It's also paying for your entire marketing team that has to manage the whole thing. And I'm sure some of them are fancy and, I don't know, bureaucracy, blah, 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 blah. So we actually don't know, or at least I don't think, you don't typically know how much the marketing budget of a movie is. They don't typically announce that. But the rule of thumb is you double it. You double the movie's budget to get the marketing number, which is actually pretty crazy to think about. You can make a whole Marvel movie for $200 million. Then you have to spend another $200 million on top of it just to get people to watch it, which is pretty insane. So assuming that they doubled it, that means they spent $400 million. $400 million making Black Widow. Incredible. Why do people spend so much on making movies? It's because the multiplicative effect of movies when you have a successful movie can be quite enormous, like insane. So normally when you have to put that much money up front, it's usually a negative when you're thinking about investing your money. You know, you have to shill out all that money up front, even if it makes 10% return, or let's say even a 30% return, which is better than pretty much any safe asset class that you can invest in. Typically, you don't want to put that much money in. That's actually a negative, you know, to your investment, is that all that money, you can't invest it anywhere else. There's a opportunity cost, and, you know, there's a risk that you're taking on so much money. So the reason why people do that for movies, at least, we'll see what the future of movies is, but the reason why people do that for movies is because you can get like a 2, 3, 4 times return. And once you've made the movie, now you have, like, especially in Disney's case, you have merchandising opportunities, you have franchising opportunities, you have endless opportunities, which is definitely true with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And any thoughts, Ben, on the business aspect?
Well, the 200 million budget, is that like the budget pre-COVID, like, or did that increase since the movie was delayed and it spent so long in post-production?
That's a good question. I doubt I doubt COVID did that much to the movie price, because that's about how much Marvel movies actually do cost on average. Even the smaller ones, which is kind of nuts. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it, but it's a reasonable number for Marvel. Put it that way.
I know from what I was reading from interviews of the composer Lauren Balfe that they spent, you know, a whole extra year in like the post production, you know, mixing and that stuff. And remixing and all doing that, so it's probably a little over mixed and mastered, honestly. So I don't know if that would have made like the budget, you know, run over that a little bit or not.
That's interesting. It's interesting that giving more time affected the creative in like a potentially negative way. It's very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. So did they record during COVID or post, or like during like the peak of things, or?
Yeah, so apparently it's like the last thing that was recorded in Abbey Road before the pandemic. Like they're, according to the interview, like midway through, it's like probably, I think, like probably a 5-day session for recording it. Like by day 3, they had you know, you can't shake hands. You have to do like the fist bump or the elbow bump. And then like by the, you know, day 4, they like made everyone, you know, use hand sanitizer when they walked in. And then like, I think it probably like literally finished on the Friday when everything shut down.
Wow. Hold on. I like put Nathan in and then I ruined it. Oh no, everything is ruined. Oh no. Okay, this is going to require some surgery. Yeah, Nathan, how was your week while I'm like finessing this?
It was all right, I guess. I started dedicating some of my time to reading up on game news and stuff like that. Like proper, like I have a schedule now essentially that I just use to stay on task and stuff like that. So I have some amount of hours allotted to reading gaming news every week. So yeah. hopefully be more well educated for the podcast.
Cool. Investing time. Have you have your friends been talking about Black Widow at all, Nathan?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I've heard it mentioned once, actually, outside of us three.
Yeah. Do you have like fans who are friends who are Marvel fans in general?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Not like
see,
super like Marvel's like I read the Marvel comics, but like I'll watch a Marvel movie probably like most of the time it comes out.
right. There we go. I think we're all fixed up, right? There's nothing else I need to fix. Looks good to you
That's
guys.
good to me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Continuing my spiel. Yeah, so the point I was making is that it was extremely expensive. It's $400 million, actually. It's not $200 million people are saying. But let me put up an image of what it looks like when you search Black Widow box office. It's actually quite baffling. Here's a screenshot of I think it's DuckDuckGo, actually. But if you can't see that, if you can't read that very easily, I'll try to make that bigger. Here, I'll blow it up entirely, actually. So here you can see a whole bunch of articles talking about how Black Widow succeeded extremely well. Soars to $80 million, which is, I mean, I've been looking at like box office numbers for a long time now, and just say anyone saying that is kind of bizarre to me. Like soars to $80 million, like okay, $87 million launch, amazing. All these articles over here, breaks pandemic box office at record. Okay, that's pretty low bar to
Yeah, compared to what?
yeah, exactly. And that's just the organic search. That's crazy to me. I have no idea what's going on there, but let me tell you something right now. For all the people who are saying that, oh, it did so well for a pandemic film, Disney doesn't release a film to do well for a pandemic film. They will release a film to make money. That's literally why they do it. Like, they're not going to release a film just to break pandemic numbers. That's not the logic that happens in the corporate boardroom, I promise. So they've so far lost money. $400 million in, $340 million so far, roughly speaking. It's probably more than that now. Even if they break even if they make, at the end of the day, a few $100 million, that's not normal. That's not normal. They're supposed to double, triple, quadruple the money that they put in. That's why that you don't put that, like I said at the beginning, you don't put that much money in to an investment unless you're going to get extremely high returns. That's why you make that bet to begin with. So just that's all to say is that it's very interesting. I looked at the number. I was like, there's no way. This is the return of cinema, right? This is like Tenet, but like the Marvel version of Tenet. In terms of the way it's being marketed as come back to sit in the cinema. But it didn't get traction, and there's a few options I think that are available to explain it. There's COVID in general, which I'm not sure. The discourse around it doesn't seem to be that. There's Marvel fatigue, which is kind of where I'm seeing this going. If I look around, there's not really much excitement around this film. There's a lot of resentment behind why this film was made to begin with. So there weren't really good feelings going into this film to begin with. Marvel took a really long break from movies that people were excited about in general. I mean, they've been making movies, and yeah, there was the pandemic that put a pause on that, but even before then, it had been a while since the last Avengers movie, since they put out something that people even could be excited about instead of just being a filler Marvel movie, right? So, it took a long while to come back with something that might be exciting to their fans, which might have really just been the nail in the coffin in terms of people realizing that they actually don't care because there's no hype train anymore. There's no collective excitement over this movie, and they're like, this kind of just looks like another Marvel movie, and maybe I don't care enough to shell out the money on it this weekend. Or maybe I came across this article. I don't have a screenshot of it, but the author was saying, well, this is just continuing. This author was actually being pretty honest about the failure of the movie, which I appreciate. It was from a movie analysis news site. So okay, that person definitely knows what I know, which is when you see that $80 million, that's pretty shocking in a bad way. The person was saying that this is just continuing the death trend of cinema in general that's been happening for the past 20 years. That explanation I completely disagree with. This is not a continuation of the trend. The trend, if you look at the graphs in cinema, is that it's stagnant. It's just flat, which is bad because you have an increasing population of people who can watch movies, but you have a flat distribution of people who are watching movies. So yes, that is a death rattle. That's not good. You want growth, not stagnation. But this is different. This is actually just a movie dying that really shouldn't on paper, and that's a completely different thing. I don't think it can be chalked up to cinema in general being dead. And this person was saying that box office numbers don't mean anything because streaming is here. The problem with it is that in that $340 million number includes $60 million from the initial streaming sales, which clearly does not account for box office success. Plus,
how do you include streaming sales? Because can you pay for just the movie?
Yeah, Ben, you want to explain again?
Yeah, so right now, if you have a Disney Plus subscription, in order to watch it, you have to pay an additional $29.99 to watch it on top of your subscription.
Wow, that's interesting. Huh.
Isn't that hefty? I thought that price was pretty hefty.
Relative to just going to buying a movie ticket and buying the popcorn as well with it, right? I mean, that's a pretty big price, plus the whatever you pay for the subscription.
Yeah, pretty wild, pretty bold.
Is the subscription? I think it's still $9.99 a month.
I have no clue myself. Yeah.
I think that's the basic level without like buying ESPN and Hulu.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't think I don't think it's the outdated model of box office success either, because I don't think streaming will even account for the loss. I think this is actually just an abject failure. $60 million initially from streaming. How many people are going to sign up to Disney Plus who haven't signed up already for just this movie? Like realistically, how many is that? And at $10, yeah, exactly. And at $10 a month, I mean, how much money are you going to make that's going to justify the cost of the entire platform? The expenses of the entire platform. This is a failure, I think, objectively speaking, from Disney's wheelhouse. And I don't know. I don't know what it means. I just wanted to come on here and say it's interesting, and put some attention on it and see what you guys think. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to add, I was saying to Irving earlier, but I mean, my brother used to be very much, proponent of Marvel, and would argue with me all the time about how Marvel's such a, these are great films, and I should watch them. They have great lessons. And he said to me today, like, I don't really want to watch it. I just don't care. And I'm like, to me, that's shocking. And other people I know who are big Marvel fans have not mentioned it at all either, and it just, it seems like an apathy towards it. Yeah,
no, there's just a marked lack of enthusiasm about this franchise. I would say, like, normally in film spaces, I'm seeing at least some references to Marvel in general, but who's excited about Captain Marvel 2? Like, seriously. After what happened with 1, there are a lot of people who are not willing to admit that they got burned with Captain Marvel 1, but deep down they're not going to pay for another ticket for Captain Marvel 2 and get absolutely bamboozled again. So, what's there to be excited about? Like, a lot of characters died that people loved, that what legacy is there to continue to create with Marvel? They waited such a long time to release something interesting, which I get that they were gearing up for the third and final act of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that requires a lot of planning and whatever, but I don't think they realize just how much their success relies on not the actual quality of the movies or the hype that the individual movies themselves can create, but just the overall atmosphere of the Marvel era and how continuous it was, which is interesting. I think it's very interesting. Hopefully the power vacuum is hopefully this does mean destruction. Let me make it clear to all those listening. I am not a Marvel fan, if you haven't gotten that already. Hopefully this does culminate in their destruction. I would not cry, not shed a single tear. But hopefully the power vacuum doesn't mean that theaters die, which would be a very bad side effect. So if you are in Hollywood right now and you have something to do it now, please, and make something amazing. And if you are a theater chain owner, please don't act like a boomer anymore and do something.
There are a lot of theaters that are like how many like slots are they like leaving for Black Widow? Is it like a lot, or like average movie kind of thing, or like are they like reducing it because it didn't go so well?
I think
predict it wouldn't go so well.
I haven't actually paid attention. I haven't looked at the slots in a theater and how many it takes up, but I assume it takes up just as much as it normally would, which is probably like at this point maybe half the freaking theaters in the cinema, or maybe like, you know, a third to a half or something like that, which gets adjusted over time. So, you know, it might be less than that now. You know, it might be a few theaters airing it. I don't know. I think that's the movie's fault. I don't think that's anything else's fault, or maybe not even the particular movie, because I don't think the movie's gotten bad flack itself. I just think people don't care, like Ben said. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So thank you so much for stopping by on the Mixed Media Podcast. If you're listening to the audio only on whatever podcasting platform you're at, one thing that we really want is we want to get people together, because we're all on so many different platforms. We're on Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, I don't know, Google Podcasts, Spotify, literally anywhere you can possibly think of. And so we want us all to be together. So in the description of wherever you are, literally wherever you are, there's a link to our Discord. In that Discord, we chat about, you know, the goings-ons of the week, our hot thoughts, our hot takes on random topics here and there, and you can continue the discussion that we're having here live on that Discord server. We'd love to have you there. The first however many people who will get on that Discord server will get a title, a role that will signify that you were here first, before the crowd. And also, we would just love to hear your thoughts on this podcast, you know, in general. What can we do better for you guys to be happier? And we've got a lot of new people come in recently, especially on YouTube. And I just want to say welcome to Mixed Media. A lot of you people, I think, are music people, so that's really cool. So let Ben know what you like, what you want him to cover, and if you would disagree with any of his hot takes on different composers. So yeah, with that, I guess we're good. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.